Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning in today. I have a question for you. Well, a couple of questions. What do you do when you find an inaccurate or fraudulent charge on your bank or credit card statement? Hmm? Or when you find inaccurate information on your credit report and the information is dinging your credit score and you have a relentless debt collector hounding you about a debt you don't even know. Or let's say you fell on hard times. It happens. You go out, you get a car title loan, and now there's a dispute. And the company has repossessed your car, the car that you need to get back and forth to work. What happens when you got a gripe with your financial provider? My name is Linda Williams, and I am a community outreach and training manager with Consumer Action. We are a national nonprofit educational and advocacy organization. And today we partner with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, to provide you with timely and relevant information that you can use right now today about the CFPB's complaint process. So, again, what do you do when that great relationship with your bank, credit card, or mortgage company goes sour? When you have a dispute, a gripe with a financial institution? I would argue that you first go to Consumer Action's website, download a copy of our most popular guide, How to Complain, and follow the guide steps. Follow the steps outlined in the guide. But what happened when you follow those steps in the booklet and the inaccurate information just refuses to budge from your credit report? Or the dispute with your bank or credit card company is just flat out ignored, and that debt collector keeps calling you. What do? I would say call the CFPB. I am truly honored to have joining us today Darian Dorsey of the CFPB, who can tell us what we can do when that relationship with our financial institution goes sour. But first, let me introduce her to you. Darian currently serves as a Deputy Assistant Director of the Office of Consumer Response. She joined the Office of Consumer Response in December 2010 as a member of the Department of Treasury I've got to talk this morning, team. With the Office of Consumer Response, Dorian has served in several capacities, including Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor to the Deputy Assistant Director. Before joining the CFPB, she led the implementation of Recovery Act reporting efforts at the U.S. Department of Treasury Community Development Financial Institutions. Welcome, Darian. And sorry, I'm having problems talking this morning, but thank you for joining us and taking the time out of your day to discuss this topic with our audience. Please, can you provide us with an overview of the CFPB's complaint process, what it is, what it isn't, and the type of complaints that's handled by the Bureau?
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm really looking forward to talking a little bit about submitting a complaint with the CFPB. So just diving right in, I want to kind of lead with the usual disclaimers that we always kind of have to throw out here, that I'm making this presentation on behalf of the Bureau, but I'm not providing legal interpretation, guidance, or advice on behalf of the Bureau. Anything that I say is kind of my own view and may not represent the Bureau's view. But with that kind of out of the way, that a bit of housekeeping, want to jump in and just refresh everyone's recollection of what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is, the CFPB. We are an agency, a federal agency that implements and enforces federal consumer financial law, and ensures that markets for consumer financial products are fair, transparent, and competitive. You can see here that our work includes a wide range of activities, but today the real focus of my presentation is going to be on taking consumer complaints. At the end, I will also touch on a little bit of information related to our financial education efforts as well. But for the most part, I really want to focus on this element of taking consumer complaints. So consumer complaints at the CFPB. Part of the reason that you saw it as a focus area of the Bureau's work is because by statute, the handling of complaints, specifically the collecting, investigating, and responding to consumer complaints, is one of the 6 statutory primary functions of the Bureau. So complaints are integral to the work that we do at the CFPB. So thinking about taking complaints, that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So I want to talk about what do we mean when we say types of complaints we currently accept. These are going to be consumer financial products and services. There are going to be other things that that you may have complaints about that I say, cost money, but they may not fit the definition of a financial product or service, a consumer financial product or service. But you can see on the left hand of this slide, we take complaints about checking and savings accounts, credit cards, credit repair services, credit reports, and other personal consumer reports. Debt collection, both of those were examples that Linda highlighted at the top of issues that consumers may come up against. Debt settlement, money transfers, virtual currency and money services, mortgages, payday loans, personal loans, including things like installment and title loans, prepaid cards, student loans, and vehicle loans and leases. Under all of these, there are going to be subcategories, but these are the broad types of complaints that we accept at the CFPB. But as I mentioned, there are other things that you may be impacted by that aren't consumer financial products and services. And so on our website and listed here, you can find other places to submit complaints, such as complaints about phone, internet, and cable companies. Visit usa.gov/complaints. And that's where you can find information about where to submit those types of complaints and a whole range of other topics. Additionally, you'll see here this list does not include the ability to submit complaints about scammers. Our website, consumerfinance.gov/consumer-tools/fraud, there's a whole section of our website that will let you know what to do if you or someone you know has been a victim of a scam, and specifically lists the really important steps you should take right away. These include contacting your attorney general, filing a police report, and potentially submitting a report to the Federal Trade Commission, which collects reports of frauds and scams. And there are other important steps that you'll want to take as well. But you can find all of that information on our website. Okay. So thinking about the complaints we do handle, so talking about a mortgage complaint or a debt collection complaint, something like that. We'll use the example of I think the credit report was of interest. So let's talk about your credit report. So you've taken steps to try to address the issue by contacting the company. Maybe you've actually gone and followed the formal dispute process to try to get an error corrected on your credit report, but you're not having a lot of luck. You can come to the CFPB to submit your complaint. We accept complaints on our website, as well as by phone, mail, email, fax, and referral. Most of those things are not kind of what most people do. The website is very user-friendly, so approximately 95% of complaints come in through our website. Through the website, you're able to attach documents, you're able to really describe things in your own words, and you're able to review everything you've input before you submit. So it's a really great way to kind of organize your thinking, and I'll talk more about that in a few slides. But most consumers submit over the web, but we also have the other option of submitting over the telephone, which is virtually where everything else comes in. We do still get a handful of things through mail, email, fax, and then we get referrals from congressional offices, other federal and state agencies, and more. Also can be kind of submitted into our process. Regardless of how the complaint comes to us, whatever format that it comes to us in, we get that complaint into our process where we review and route complaints to a company for response. That's really what our process is designed to do. It's designed to get your complaint as quickly as we can to the correct company so that company can respond to the issues you describe in your complaint. And we do this using a range of technology. And so we're able to do this typically in less than 1 day. So if you submit a complaint to us on a Monday, by Tuesday, that complaint is going to be, in most cases, with the company, and the company is going to need to respond to your complaint. The company is going to review the complaint and report back about the steps they've taken to respond to your complaint. They have 15 days to provide a response, and if they need more time, they can use up to 60 days to provide that response. All along this path that you see here, we're communicating with you. We're sending you emails, when we receive the complaint, when it goes to the company, when the company responds, and at other touch points throughout the process. We'll keep you apprised of how the complaint is moving along. And once the company responds, that's also when we give consumers the ability to provide feedback. We want to hear from a consumer's perspective whether the company's response to their complaint really addressed their issues, whether they understood the complaint, and whether the company did what it said it would do. So we give you the ability to provide that feedback after the company responds. All of that information is really important to our work, so we understand not just the types of issues that consumers are having, but also how companies are responding and how those responses are working out for consumers. We also provide that feedback directly back to the company. So if the company didn't meet your expectations, you can let them know through our process. So when you provide that feedback at the end of the process. And then kind of in the midst of this, another important thing we do, and I'll touch on this at the very end of today's presentation, is we publish complaints in a public database. So you have the option when you're first submitting your complaint on our website to check a box if you want us to remove personal information, but scrub and put your scrubbed narrative, right, where we scrub the information out of the words that you put in your complaint on our website. We will publish that complaint on our website after the company responds, after enough time has passed where we've had a chance to remove all that personally identifiable information. So that is an important part of what we do, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But this is an overview of the process, and importantly, of the complaints that we can send to companies. 99% of the time, companies are providing timely responses to those. There are other complaints, of course, that we have to refer to other regulators, but we'll also let you know if that's the case. So if it's something that is not a company that we can handle complaints about, or if it turns out that maybe the thing you're complaining about turns out wasn't exactly a consumer financial product or service, we'll let you know what a good next step is, either which agency to contact, or if we've referred your complaint to that agency. That's kind of a high-level overview of the process. So let's talk about getting ready to submit. I kind of touched on this, but I think it's important to really, be prepared, as with anything in life, before you submit a complaint. So you can go to our website, consumerfinance.gov/complaint. This is what that page looks like today. There's a lot more information below here. But we have a landing page for submitting a complaint. We highlight here, and I think it's important for consumers to know, kind of coming into the process, that we send more than 10,000 complaints about financial products and services to companies for response each week. So on a weekly basis, we're talking about more than 10,000. Some weeks it's more in the 15,000 range that we're sending those complaints to companies. And most companies are responding within that 15 days. So very important to kind of understand the expectation is that if you submit a complaint to us, chances are we're going to be able to get that complaint to the company, and we're going to expect a company to provide a response within that 15-day window. So one resource that is fairly new on this page is a video. We have a video embedded right on the page where you can see how the complaint process works. So, today's presentation is going to provide, a 20 to 30 minute overview. But if you want a refresher at any time, this is a 3.5 minute video that'll really help you be prepared to submit a complaint. And you can play that right on the submit a complaint landing page. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@CFPB video, where you can find a whole range of videos, but this is one of the videos that's also available there. All right, so further down the page, you'll find a section called Find Answers Before You Start a Complaint. And this section will continue to evolve over time, but we've tried to put the most important information up front. So before you launch in to start a new complaint, again, focusing on being prepared so that you get the best chance of a response from the company possible. If you organize your thoughts, that puts them in position to respond to your issues. So we kind of cover a few topics, and I'll drill down on a couple of them today. Which products and services can I complain about? We've talked about that. What can I do before submitting a complaint? What's most important for me to include in a complaint? And how does the CFPB share my complaint data? Again, want to put all the things that are top of mind for consumers before they provide information to us. So I want to focus on what's most important to include in a complaint. first thing, most important, key facts in your own words. You don't need to use legal citations or look up regulations. Those things may not be as helpful when the company's actually looking at it as understanding what's the problem you're having. You don't need to include every date, amount, and communication, but the most important ones, right? When you took a particular action or the company took a particular action, those things will help the company respond to your issue because they can focus their attention on the most important bits of information. So really, again, emphasizing the key facts in your own words is so important. And then your contact information. This seems kind of obvious, but it's really important that from a privacy perspective, the company knows exactly who they're talking to. They know that you're their customer, or that they have a credit report on you, et cetera. So you're going to need to provide your name, email, and phone number to create your secure account. That secure account will enable you to come back, log in, read the company's response. You can check the status. You can provide feedback. So we have to have that information to really be able to connect you to your complaints and no one else to your complaints. You'll also need to provide your address. This is really important for companies. They may have several other people with your name or with similar names. So just really important to provide your address. It helps them, again, make sure they're communicating with you and that they can respond to the issues in your complaint. Lastly, if you're submitting for someone else, whether it's a family member or someone else, you must disclose your relationship to that person and that you were submitting a complaint on their behalf. It's really important that that is very transparent both to us and to the companies. Otherwise, we will not be able to process the complaint. So if we don't know that who you are or your relationship to this person, we're not going to be able to process the complaint. All right. Two more things to really touch on in terms of what's most important to include in your complaint. Naming the company you're complaining about. This is really important. It seems kind of straightforward, but it's really important to pinpoint which company needs to respond to your issues. Which company do you have issues with? You'll be able to select the company from a list in the form, and we will send your complaint directly to that company and ask them for a response. So the company list is going to be the company that needs to respond. And if you don't see the company listed, we're going to need you to provide complete contact information for that company. We will try to get in touch with them. We will try to, get them on board with responding to complaints to our process. But if we can't, we will let you know what to do next. So we'll let you know if we can't do that, and we'll give you some action steps. And then lastly, and this is a real advantage of submitting complaints on our website, is the ability to really seamlessly attach documents. Just like I was talking about earlier about key facts and key bits of information, same thing here with the documents. It's not beneficial to include just every bit of paper you have, scanning all that in, going to all that trouble. You want to include documents that really support the facts that you're saying. So if there's a particular account statement that shows you, paid something, or there's a particular letter that you've received from the company, things like that are really helpful. But you don't need to submit a ton of documents. That can kind of muddy the issue and make it harder for us to understand the issue and for the company to understand the issue. And again, we really want to focus on getting you a good response from the company that addresses the issues. So here we do have a limit of 50 pages. Just to kind of keep that focus on the most important information. And lastly, if you're submitting for someone else, related to the kind of earlier point, beyond kind of identifying yourself, just know that for a range of privacy reasons, companies are generally going to require signed written authorization provided directly by their customer before responding to someone other than their customer. So put that another way, like if you have written authorization because you're submitting for someone else, you'll want to attach it. The company may still need to get that directly from the consumer. And again, that's just about safeguarding privacy and making sure that they're responding to the person they think they're responding to and that their customer has authorized it. So you have it, attach it. The company may still contact the consumer if you're submitting for someone else. All right. So let's talk about it. Now you're kind of ready, right? You're ready to submit a complaint. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like and what your options are. So I've touched on this quite a bit. The website, this is the landing page, the home page for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And you'll see this is prominent. We have the submit a complaint link at the very top of the page next to the search bar. We also have a call out on our page, where you can submit a complaint about a financial product and service right under kind of the top banner of the page. And then lastly, I've highlighted the phone number, which is also an option. And that's next to the languages that are kind of listed on the Bureau's website, where we have some content in language on those pages. The phone number also supports, in addition to English and Spanish, another 180 plus languages. We're able to connect to translation services. So consumers that can't submit online in English can give us a call if they want to submit over the phone. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Okay. So if you're submitting online, you'll see this is kind of the page that I was showing before, where you have the financiers and then you're ready to begin. We always want to flag that submitting online takes less than 10 minutes for most people. It's really fast. So you can kind of fill this out, submit the complaint, and then expect a response usually from companies in about 2 weeks, a little bit before, a little bit later, but usually in about that time, depending on how long it takes us to get your complaint to where it needs to go. And importantly, you're going to want to include everything you need about the issue, because you can't submit a second complaint about the same problem. So if you have a particular issue, this is why I spent so much time talking about what's most important to include, because you want to be organized in your thoughts so that the company is going to know what the issue is, be able to respond to that issue. Once they've responded to that issue, we're not going to process another complaint expecting kind of additional responses to the same issue. If there's new issues, there's new issues. And companies can respond to those. But it's just important, again, to kind of organize your thoughts, get your documentation together before you kind of jump in to start a new complaint. All right. If you can't submit online, or you have questions, you want to understand more about the process, or you want to maybe ask a question about some financial information, financial content that's on our website, you can give us a call. If you can't submit online, like I said, it's 7 to 10 minutes. You can also submit over the phone. It's going to take longer, right? Because we're going to have to type everything you say and make sure we've got it correct. And that just generally takes more time, usually somewhere between 25 minutes to 30 minutes. We're available to do that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, except federal holidays. Like I said, 180 languages are available, and we have our phone number here. These are both toll-free phone numbers that consumers can call to connect with us. All right, and just want to flag, the reminder that the end of the complaint process is the opportunity for you to provide feedback on the company's response. You can do this by logging in. So the same information you used when you sort of started your complaint, your name, your email address, you'll have an opportunity to set a password when you do that. That's how you'll log back in later to check the status of your complaint, to read the company's response. You can print from that page as well, and you'll be able to provide feedback on the company's response once they respond. So that's really important input for us to know how companies are doing overall, right? When we look for patterns and trends and complaints, having feedback from consumers is very helpful to that work. But if you can't log in, if you just have an issue, if there is a way to forgot your password or reset your password, you can do all that. But if for whatever reason you need to give us a call, you can do that again that Monday through Friday. You can also provide feedback after the company responds by giving us a call. So that last piece of it is really important. We want to make sure that consumers are in the best position to know how the company responded to their issue, right? You're going to know whether they actually mailed you something they said that they did, or whether that charge really was removed, et cetera. You're really going to be in the best position. So, wait a couple weeks after, the response if you need to, but that feedback is really helpful to provide feedback on the company's response. So we know how, again, like when we spot patterns and trends across companies, across markets, we understand kind of where companies are meeting expectations and maybe where they're falling short. All right, shifting gears, as I indicated at the top, when I showed the complaint process, one of the things is the publication of complaints, this public sharing of information. So I want to spend just a minute talking about how we share complaint data and insights, because that, I think, is important to understanding the impact that your complaint can have on the work of the Bureau more broadly. So on the Bureau's website, again, this is just a snip from our homepage, you'll see there's a banner for data and research. Under data and research, you can find research and reports. This includes reports about complaints, as well as the consumer complaint database. Both of these are helpful, depending on what kind of information you're trying to consume, but they're really helpful ways of understanding patterns and trends, which is a lot of how we think about our work, given that on any given month, we typically receive approximately 100,000 complaints, usually more, sometimes a little bit less, but right around 100,000 complaints every month. So we've got to be looking at patterns and trends, and we want to highlight these for the public through our research and reports, as well as through the consumer complaint database. The database is not where you submit a complaint, right? We have the submit a complaint landing page. That's where you submit your complaint. But the consumer complaint database provides the public with a window into the types of complaints we're getting, as well as a window into how companies are responding. So you can find the consumer complaint database, and I have the link here, where you can see how companies are responding to consumers. We have this information, it's visualized, so you can see trends, you can see maps, you can actually read individual complaints. So if you want to understand if other consumers are having an issue you're having, you can read that, and you can also export the information. So if you're someone who likes to crunch the data, you can definitely do that. But you have sort of the explore the data, you can get the data, and you can also, here we link to some of the complaint reports, at least the most recent ones. So again, just a great place to go and learn about what we're seeing in complaints, and how companies are responding to those issues. You'll also note here, we talk about considering company and market size and population information when viewing the information about complaints. It's always just good to think about it in context. Really large companies with lots of customers are going to have more complaints than maybe a company with fewer customers. So you just kind of have to use that as you're looking at this, and not kind of jump to any conclusions about any particular company, strictly based on the data that's listed in the database. All right, as I mentioned at the top, I was going to touch on some other tools. So I've talked about the complaint process, which can be really helpful when you have kind of worked with a company and you really haven't been able to get an answer to an issue, or get a problem kind of addressed by the company. But I want to talk about some other tools and resources for both individuals and financial practitioners. So resources for helping others, you can see here again under the consumer education on our landing page, we have resources for yourself. We have some money topics here. So if you just want to jump right into a particular topic, you can see that. Resources kind of for recovering after coronavirus, that's also here. We also cross-list the database. So if you want to find that there, you can find that under consumer education. But I want to take just a moment to focus on the resources for helping others, and how you can sort of stay in touch with the Bureau through those resources. So we have the page under resources for helping others really shows the consumer tools that are really specific for people that are educators, that are in the financial practitioner space. And importantly, if this is something of interest to you, you can sign up. You can join the CFPB Financial Education Exchange, CFPB FinX, we call it. You can get the latest news and invitations to webinars, and just kind of learn from your other peers. Just quick sign up there. By joining this, you'll receive updates on research tools webinars via email. It's really great because you can stay up to date with multiple webinars each year on a wide range of topics. You can kind of get to know the different CFPB offices. My office is the Office of Consumer Response, but there are so many others that also perform important mission work at the CFPB. I also include a link here to the LinkedIn discussion group, so you can join that as well. So just a great resource for anyone in this kind of financial education space. And then lastly, I just want to highlight, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we have a lot more videos, that are available. Importantly, and I think some of these touch on some of the topics at the top of the meeting, which are things like how I can improve my credit score, how do I get a copy of my credit report, how do I dispute an error on my credit report, and so much more. So this information is here, and you'll see we've really tried to keep these to nice bite-sized videos, a minute and a half, to get kind of a little bit of a lay of the land. And this is just a snippet. You can kind of scroll up and down this page and find a lot of resources. So, really happy to have had a chance to speak with you all today, and I hope this was informative, and that you will visit our website at consumerfinance.gov, and check out our YouTube channel as well. With that, I'll turn it back over to Linda.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that such great information. Audience, I hope you're paying attention. Please share this information with your friends, your neighbors, your church members, the communities that you serve. Knowing how to handle a complaint is very, very important. Now, if you're interested in more resources, you're only a click away from a ton of resources. Go to our website, www.consumer-action.org. And when you're on our website, don't leave before you download our How to Complain guide. This guide should be in every household in America. Yep, it's that good. Now, if you're interested in staying abreast of the latest scams in order to protect yourself and to know what's happening, please, when you're on our website, don't leave before you sign up for our Scam Gram newsletter. And if your community is still reeling or trying to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, click on that little burgundy looking link there in the middle on your screen, and you will land on our COVID-19 project page. There you will find a ton of resources for the communities that you serve. Now, if you would like to contribute to Consumer Action, you can do so online by credit card or PayPal by going to www.consumer-action.org/giving. Or you can mail us a check. Address your envelope to Consumer Action, Attention Membership Given, 57 Post Street, Suite 611, San Francisco, California. Now, if you can't send a check, no worries. You can still support us. You can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's free, and it would help us continue bringing you this great information in 2023. Thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the session and found the information helpful. Before signing off today, I want to leave you with an old proverb. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Or as they say in my neck of the woods, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you have a legitimate complaint, take it directly to the business. Often your complaints or disputes can be resolved quickly by doing so. Be clear about what you want, be persistent, and don't lose your cool. But if all of that fails, call the CFPB. Thank you for joining us today. Goodbye.